This episode of I've Had It is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.YEAH. Every time I use Booking.com to find a place to stay in the U.S., I know they'll have exactly what I'm looking for. They have a huge variety of options from hotels to vacation rentals, and I'm always able to find something that fits my specific needs. I found that Booking.com has something for everyone. Find exactly what you're booking for on Booking.com. Booking.YEAH. So are we supposed to start the podcast?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Patriots, gay triots, they triots, black triots, brown triots.
Fuck off!
And, you know, the reason we do that at the beginning of each episode is to be inclusive, that this is a place where all of the people that MAGA bullies can come right here to Asshole Island and we can bully them back.
And it's so easy to do because they suck so bad.
Oh my God, it's so easy to do. Their cult leader can barely speak. Sounds like he has marbles in his mouth. Hangs out with a crazy drug addict whom he had a very public breakup with. And he can't blend his makeup.
Right. And nobody around him tells him.
And they act like we're the assholes.
Right.
I'm just like, oh my God. Okay. Pumps, what have you had it with?
Okay, what I've had it with is this saying that I'm seeing all over social media, and it's an acronym, but I can't remember the acronym. If you know, you know, that acronym.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I don't know, then why do you think I would care? So why are you putting it on social media? Like, I've had it. And I feel like this was like Chloe and Courtney Take the Hamptons a la 2009 or something when my daughter used to watch that show. They said it all the time. So not only is it ridiculous, it's old.
Before I dive into that, I just want you to know that the right side of your bra is showing.
Oh God. See, I should put my thing on, but I'm hot.
I just wanted you to know.
Thank you for telling me.
Yeah, because you get mad at me when I don't tell you these things. But okay, so here's the thing. It's IYKYK.
Is that right?
IYKYK. If you know, you know. Now, I agree. I see it a lot, but sometimes it's used so perfectly that it's kind of this niche thing in the world that only, you know, like people that get it know. And so when you see it, like if it's a Curb Your Enthusiasm reference or if it's something that you're into and you see it used properly, it's fantastic. But in general, I would agree with you. It's like something gets sent all over the internet, then everybody adopts it, and then it becomes completely annoying.
It's totally annoying, especially when it's like, you know, I'm reading a romance novel. If you know, you know. Shut up. Just shut up. Like, nobody cares what you're reading. Nobody cares what you're eating. Nobody cares what the foam on your coffee looks like. Nobody cares.
But do you think some people must?
You have to think they do.
Right.
Just like they screw their DoorDash driver. People care what your foam and your coffee looks like because people wouldn't continue to do it if they didn't.
Back to the DoorDash sex.
Well, I'm just saying.
Tell me, we're 2 minutes in.
2 minutes in.
You know, I agree with you. I agree with you. I've had it with if you know, you know. However, I'm certain I've used it. I'm certain of it.
In this last decade.
Yeah, for sure. I think within this last year. I do. But here's the thing, listener. If you listen to this podcast long enough, something that you do will be the subject of this very podcast. And oftentimes, we just run out of shit to say. We pull out shit that we do.
Right.
That we've personally had it with. So I'm certain that I have used, if you know, you know. I'm certain. I have a memory of typing that in to an Instagram story. So I am a part of the problem.
Well, here's the thing. I know for a fact I haven't done it because I couldn't come up with the acronym if I tried. I'm pure. I'm a virgin.
This is a pure grievance. It's a very rare, absolutely pure grievance. And I just want to let you know your bra is showing again.
Oh my God, I'll just put my jacket on.
No, you can leave it off. I mean, I think at this stage, the listener
the bra's out.
Is fine.
What would you do if I just popped the bra out? Because you know, I don't know if everybody knows this. It's a talent. I can take my bra off without lifting my shirt. I could sit here right now and take my bra off.
I can too.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
Don't you think all women can do that?
I'll just tell you, when I figured out I could do it, I was really pleased with myself. I thought I had really discovered something. So if you tell me all women can do it, without
Kylie?
lifting their shirt, I'll be really.
Can you take your bra off without lifting your shirt?
Yeah.
You know what
I thought it was a talent this whole time.
It's an IYKYK. It is an IYKYK. That's what that is.
If you know, you know. Yeah, this whole I've always thought that was a special talent on my part.
You know what?
Will
Kylie,
you give it to
let's
me?
lie. I didn't know that was possible.
It's a special trick I do.
It's just like balancing a hanger on your nipple.
That's right.
Okay, let me tell you what I've had it with. I have had it with our friend Renee Stubs, and listener, you'll know Renee. She's a double dipper on I've Had It. She's been on the pod twice, and she is a retired tennis pro. I think she won 6 or 7 doubles Grand Slams. She coached Serena in her last U.S. Open run, and she is an ESPN commentator and great friend of mine and Pump's. Well, she calls me the other day when I'm in the middle of my tennis lesson. I see my Apple Watch go off. I race to the phone because she was going in New York looking for something for me, and she was FaceTiming me to show me. I was like, hey, I'm at my tennis lesson. She's like, okay, I'll call you back. So I text her like, hey, I'm finished with my tennis lesson, and I'm still on court with Jeff. And she says, how did it go? And I said, well, Jeff beat me 3 times. And I beat Jeff 1 time. And being the heartless twat that this woman is, she says to me, well, you know, you really didn't beat Jeff. And what Renee Stubs did right then and there is she said the quiet part out loud.
Right.
I need to believe that I beat Jeff. I need to believe that. Jeff, of course, Jeff let me win, but we don't talk about that. We just don't talk about it. And she just took my victory and just with reckless disregard for my ego, all of the training that I put into that to beat him that one time, just with that hard truth, and just it sent me on a spiral pretty much for the next 3 days of tennis.
Here's the thing. I know Jeff lets you win, but I'm always so excited when you beat him.
Exactly.
I really am, because I know how hard you work, and that you have to be doing something really, really good to beat him.
You hear that, Renee? Did you hear that?
And so Renee just stole your heart is what she did.
She ripped it out of my body. And here's the thing, she's right.
But she doesn't have to say it. Just because you're right doesn't mean you have to say it. Let us have this, Renee. Because I always get excited when you win.
I will say that yesterday something magical happened. I beat Jeff. We played to 10. Okay, we play until the time is up. We play to 10. We warm up and then we play to 10. First to 10 wins, and it's not even win by 2. Yesterday, I beat Jeff 9-1.
Really?
So I can't think that all 9 of those points. You're telling me all 9 of those points he let me have? No, I had to earn. I would say at least 4 of those.
I was going to say 4 at least.
At least.
You won at least 4 because he was probably like, oh, I'll let her win a couple, and then he couldn't beat you. That's what I think happened.
I'll tell you what, there was a couple of clean winners down the line that he was going one way. He misread me, and he was, I like broke his ankles a couple times.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, Renee, of course, we love you very much. And I do like a little smack talk among friends.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right. Welcome to I've Had It. I am a professional, amateur, very average, I would say even below average tennis player. My name is Jennifer.
You're better than me.
Thank you, Angie.
I'm Angie, HBIC, and Judge Judy Diana.
Oh, that's a good one.
I have so many. I have to go back to the well and remember.
That is such a good one. Okay, Kiki,
Yes.
the Magic Lesbian.
Yes. Someone called me that in public recently, a fan, and Anna, who doesn't listen to the podcast anymore, said, what the fuck is Kiki the Magic Lesbian? And I was just like, if you know, you know.
It is.
If you know, you know.
IYKYK. Yeah, no, I know. You know, Josh doesn't really listen to the podcast either. And I've been like, do I tell him like, hey, I've been talking about you behind your back a lot about like the hypochondria?
We've been talking about the earwax sick days.
Oh my gosh. I have the most hilarious thing that I can send to Kylie to pop up here for our YouTube listeners. Kylie, while I find it, why don't you go ahead and tell us what's going on the internet?
Okay. I've got some reviews for you today. And up first, I've got a 5-star titled Blue Dot in a Red State. And they write, my new favorite pastime is pulling up at my small town grocery store, rolling down my windows and blaring this podcast. Keep going, ladies.
Go, go, go.
That's fantastic. I mean, that they're using us to troll. I mean, I love that.
I love a good troll. And very rarely do we get to be just a pure troll with no vested interest. And we're just going after people in these states that we don't know them. And I love it. Have you noticed at the Thunder games recently, a lot of people have been coming up to me saying, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. This is crazy. I've had like probably 10 each game, the last 2 games.
You know, I just think that so much of the Trump support is so enhanced by algorithms and robot farms and troll farms. Now, there's no question that there is MAGA, but the online presence of the support, I think, is massively exaggerated. That's issue number 1. Issue number 2, people that are Trumpers, their entire identity is that cult identity. And so they're just online defending it all the time. Whereas, you know, like I'm an anti-Trumper, but also an athlete.
Also a tennis player, extraordinaire, amateur at this point, but we're not closing any doors.
Right. I mean, also, like, I have other things going on. Okay, I just sent Kylie a picture of Josh and me at some of the playoff games. And I want Kylie to put it up for our YouTube audience. And I'll describe for our audio listeners so you don't feel left out. Do you have it? Cute couple, right? At the NBA playoffs, you see, there we are. And then look at Josh's ear. So to the people that are listening, it's a really cute selfie of my husband, the hypochondriac that I love more than anything on the planet, Josh, and me at the playoff games, the NBA playoff games. And in Josh's ear is a giant cotton ball. And we all know the warfare that he's been going through in an effort to treat this ear. And the doctor hopes that he got it the way Josh wanted it. But we're going to Thunder games now with cotton balls in our ear.
I'm totally stunned by that. That's why I busted out laughing, not to minimize his very serious earwax concerns, but because I'm surprised he's so vain that he went with the cotton ball in his ear.
I will say that this was one day post-op.
Oh, okay.
So he had the cotton ball in his ear, but we went to a game. So that was a couple of weeks ago. We went to a game recently, and it was so loud in there because our city, Oklahoma City, is known for having like one of the loudest crowds in the NBA. Josh went up to the people, you know, in the arena and requested some earplugs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he came back down and he had put an earplug in that ear. So the ear saga goes on. And I don't know, like, do I say to him, like what Kylie says, you know, like, Anna doesn't really listen to the podcast anymore because if you live with the person that is the podcaster, you get enough.
Right.
So you don't really have to listen to it. Like my kids don't listen to it. Your kids don't listen to it.
No, my kids want to hear me talk less.
And so, Josh, I mean, do I say, hey, I've been talking about you behind your back a lot on the podcast? Or just meh? Or is it IYKYK?
Right. If you don't know, you don't know. add 2 Ds. But here's the thing. He can hear now. So that's good because the whole point. Okay, so he can't hear now.
He's saying that the other day we were sitting on the sofa. I think what we're developing into is a little bit of selective hearing.
Right. Which after 25 years of marriage.
But Josh, everything's always loud. I've always noticed, like if we're watching TV, it's up super loud. If we're in his car, the music's super loud. I think a lot of this, he has damaged his own ears by not regulating the volume. But that's just my own personal theory where I'm conducting my own research group.
Right.
On Facebook. No,
well, absolutely.
Kidding. But so he'll have the volume up really loud. Nobody can hear anything in the house because he has the volume up so loud with music. He'll talk to me and then I'll respond and he'll say, I can't hear you. And I'm like, I can't hear me either. IYKYK. Okay, Kylie, what else on the internet?
I'll do one last review for you. We've got 5 stars titled Red State Renegade Approved. And they write, as a gay man in Alabama raised by a family with religious beliefs close to that of ISIS, I call it ISIS Light or Diet ISIS. Think less international terror, more aggressively judgmental potluck energy. Finding I've had it felt like spiritual liberation. Gin and Pumps are the patron saints of saying what we're all thinking, but with better hair and funnier accents. Their unfiltered rants give me life, validation, and just enough rage to keep attending family functions without flipping a casserole dish. This podcast is my safe space in a world of camo casseroles and conservative craziness. If you're queer, questioning, or just one bad take away from a full-blown meltdown at a Cracker Barrel, listen to this show. The girls get it. Long live the Red State Renegades.
That is so awesome. That is such a great comment. And it's so true. You know, there are so many blue dots in red state fuckery and that have found enlightenment, and you're just around just the crazy Christians and the crazy MAGA. And it's just, it just wears me down. Doesn't it wear you down?
Yeah, it does. It actually does. And what I love about this is, number one, do people on the East and West Coast know what a casserole dish, like a casserole is? Do people outside of the South eat casserole?
I believe so.
Okay, that's my first question. And then my second thing that I love is the Diet ISIS or the ISIS Light, because it says the judgmental potluck energy, and that is so true. The judgmental part is the part that I look back on, and it's the most damning.
But here's the part: we say ISIS Light, but we did an iHip News episode where a preacher here in Oklahoma City that also works for the city of Oklahoma City, and he's a Southern Baptist preacher on the weekends, called for the execution of homosexuals on tape. We played the tape of this man. So it's really not that far off from ISIS, because once they start getting emboldened and more emboldened, then it's not just they can't be gay anymore. Then they escalate it to let's kill the gays. So that's why all of these people that play patty cake with MAGA, yet you live in a city where you have minorities and members of the LGBTQ plus community that have done nothing but enrich your life and add flavor, diversity, and joy to your life. And then you go vote against them. It's just, to me, it is just a true window into the soul of people that are deeply, deeply morally flawed.
Or the lack of soul.
Yes.
The absolute lack of soul.
Okay. Did I welcome to I've Had It? I did that, right? Okay. Did I say America's Top DEI podcast?
No.
Welcome to America's Top DEI podcast. We just need to put that out there. We only have on staff here one white heterosexual male.
Just one.
Just one. That's it. We even call him our DEI hire.
Absolutely.
All right. I have some news stories I would like to share with the group today. Number one, Swedish billionaire buys 400,000 acres of the Amazon jungle just to protect it. A Swedish billionaire has made headlines after purchasing 400,000 acres of the Amazon rainforest with no plans to profit, just to preserve it. So, this is something that I think we really need to start talking about. Trump, Musk, Bezos neutered Zuckerberg. His words, not mine. He went on Joe Rogan or wherever we went on, and he said he felt like he had been neutered, which is a really weird tell. Nonetheless, you have an opportunity where you have been wildly successful as far as it turns to money. I don't know if they've been successful in their personal relationships or not. I don't know, because I consider that an even bigger success. But when it comes to money, they have been wildly successful. What do you do with that? If you're Musk, you want to make sure you acquire more money. You want to make sure you take away food and medication from poor people. You want to wreck the earth. You want to just sit around and do drugs and deport people from a country that you're not even originally from. Right. And then you've got this guy, he's buying 400,000 acres of the Amazon jungle just to protect it. That's the kind of shit I would like to think that if I was a multi-billionaire, that I'd be like, you know what? Everybody else is doing so much fucked up shit. Let's do some good stuff.
Absolutely. Like you look at the ex-wives of all these billionaires and they're all doing good things for people. And it's just like, what is in your mind?
You're talking about, for the listener, she's talking about Mackenzie Bezos.
Yeah. Melinda Gates.
Melinda Gates. There even is a Walmart lady.
Abigail. Wait, that's Abigail Disney.
Walton. It's Walton. Christine Walton.
Yes.
And they are, holding the line. And then who is it that owns, it's Powell, the widow of Steve Jobs. Yes. She owns The Atlantic.
Yes, and they're doing good journalism.
Yeah, she's not trying to silence or sway her journalists to be, kowtowing to fascism, which is journalism should never do that. That's not journalism, it's propaganda.
Absolutely. But I look at that and think, what would you want your legacy to be? Obviously, Elon Musk wants 7,000 children or whatever it is. So he's thinking in terms of legacy. And I think in his drug-addled brain, he thinks that we're all going to move to Mars at some point. But I'm like, what do you want your kids to look back and tell their grandkids about you? And all these people, it's just hate and cruelty.
That's when you think about your aunts, like when I think about people in my family that were 2 generations older that have died, one of the biggest things I remember about some of them is how racist they were.
Right.
That is the biggest thing. It outweighs any good or any kindness they showed me because they were racist. And that is what my memory of them is. And so the memory of what all of these people is going to be is just how inherently cruel and racist and greedy they are. Okay, let me get to the next story. This one really bothers me. Iran expands dog walking ban. The ban, which mirrors a 2019 police order that barred dog walking in the capital, Tehran, has been extended to at least 18 other cities in the past week. Transporting dogs in vehicles has also been outlawed. Dog ownership has been frowned upon in Iran since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, with dogs viewed as unclean by authorities. Owners have sometimes been arrested and dogs confiscated for being walked in public. But despite efforts to discourage it, dog ownership is rising and it is viewed as a form of rebellion against the restrictive Iranian regime. So this is crazy to me. So if you go back before 1979, Tehran was like Paris. Arts, freedom, it was women, you didn't see them running around in hijabs. It was a very liberal culture. And then when you get religion and you have religious takeovers, this is the kind of shit that happens. So they started with women, the gays, and blah, blah, blah. Now they're going after the dogs. Right. Imagine like the joy that those citizens could be living in, but they can't because you have insecure, greedy, religious whack jobs dictating that your precious time on earth has to be fucking miserable and you can't walk your dog. And to me, there's not that much daylight between what the Trump regime wants to do and what happens here. Because if you study what happened with Iran and how their culture, I mean, it was literally called the Paris of the Middle East. Books, education, freedoms, etc. And then the religious nuts come in and just ruin everything for everybody.
Right.
And that's what they're trying to do here. The religious nuts are coming in. They ruin everything for everybody because they're so fucking miserable because they have been religiously and spiritually abused their whole lives and hurt people. And now those hurt people are in the United States government.
Absolutely. And, you look at just the first 6 months of Trump's presidency, you've seen how he's attacked women, attacked Black and brown people, attacked gay people. Like, no one is safe. Like, if you told me at the end of his term he was going to ban dogs, I mean, this motherfucker has no compassion for a dog. He can't. I wouldn't be surprised because he started with women and gays and Black and brown people. So what's left?
I think there's something in the religion of Islam that forbids them, like that they think dogs are unclean. And I have an anecdotal piece of information about this. So a friend of mine married a guy that was from the Middle East, and he was his parents were coming into town. And I said, well, maybe they could come over. And I was told that his parents wouldn't enjoy coming over because I had dogs, and my dogs, sit on my furniture, sleep in my bed, because I'm not a sociopath.
Right.
My dog's well-being is incredibly important to me. So I think it is a cultural thing, but what it shows is that even with any sort of authoritarian, that is insane. To take away somebody's right to walk a dog. That's how crazy religious nuts get. From the guy that we just told you about that is an employee of the city of Oklahoma City that said he wanted gays lined up and executed. This is widely available on the internet, or you can go to our iHip News episode about it. He wants to execute homosexuals. Baptists in Oklahoma are okay with that. They're okay with that hellfire damnation. And if you keep going down that path, it gets to where nobody can have anything. Nobody can have fucking anything because these people are so broken.
Well, and that's by design.
And I shout out, this is something that I think is really important. A lot of times people will be like, well, Iranians are crazy. And that's like an American mindset. The Iranian government is crazy. There are people in Iran that have access to the internet, that love dogs, that love freedom, that want to learn, that hate living under this style of regime. And so it's important that we find humanity in all corners of the world because, right now, everybody could look at the United States and say, God, they're a crazy country. And on the surface, I can say yes. But underneath that surface are a lot of people that enjoy freedom, that love freedom and fight for freedom, even for the crazy lunatics.
Right.
We will fight for their rights to come out of the closet and be out of the closet on Grindr. You don't have to just do it at the Republican National Convention. You can do it without shame. And so it's important that we all, as we move forward through this treacherous global stuff going on, that you don't just dismiss an entire nation because their government is crazy. And it's a very easy thing to do, but it's very short-sighted and shallow to do such a thing.
Well, and I feel like this whole administration, their goal is for people to dehumanize other people. And so as easy as it is for me to dismiss all MAGAs as nuts, I have to remember their parents. Like, you know what I mean? Like you cannot dehumanize people. If they show you who they are, you have to believe them, but you cannot automatically dehumanize a whole group of people.
I don't think that the left dehumanizes them.
No. I'm saying the right dehumanizes it.
Right. I mean, the right dehumanizes.
Yes.
I mean, Trump has stoked that forever, the enemy from within. I mean, he has now Americans on the right believing that people like you and me and our listener are a bigger threat to democracy than Vladimir Putin,
right?
Which is wild, which is so intellectually dishonest and lazy. But when you don't value education and you start injecting magical thinking and Iron Age thought into modern law, you get this article where we're banning dog walking. That's right. It's just, there is not, Christians seem to think that their religion is the best. And all religions, when you get right down to the letter of the book, you get these crazy policies that come out of them, and it's nobody is exempt from that. And so it's just, I feel bad for the people of Iran, and God, somebody please come get us from the United States, because this man is completely unhinged and bananas. All right, we have a guest today we're super excited about. This episode of I've Had It is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.YEAH. From vacation rentals to hotels across the U.S., Booking.com has the ideal summer stay for absolutely anyone, even those who might seem impossible to please. Whether you're booking for yourself, your partner, your picky teens, or your sleep light early rise mom, you can find exactly what you're booking for on Booking.com. I personally just booked a trip for my sons and I to go to New York City, and I found the perfect hotel in the perfect location, and we were able to tackle the city with enthusiasm and convenience, and I just absolutely love this site. If our family can find their perfect stay on Booking.com, anyone can. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com. Booking.YEAH. Book today on the site or in the app. You know, Pumps, it seems like the biggest thing in America right now is trying to get your hands on some Ozempic or Wegovy. And apparently it's a huge hassle. But your experience was so streamlined. Share what you did with our listener.
Well, I went to Roe because the big question is it covered by insurance or not? So if you're eligible for GLP-1s and want to see if you're covered, all you have to do is submit your insurance card and Roe will take care of the rest. No paperwork, no negotiating, no waiting on hold.
Plus, listener, Roe members have support throughout the process. You'll have access to your provider on demand for any questions. Join the over 350,000 people who've trusted Roe to check their coverage for free. Go to ro.co/hadit for your free insurance check. That's ro.co/hadit to see if your insurance covers GLP-1s for free. Go to ro.co/safety for black box warning and full safety information about GLP-1 medications. Okay, and our guest today, I'm just so excited about. Pumps and I, it is our absolute pleasure to welcome to I've Had It, Congresswoman Sarah McBride. And she is the subject of the documentary State of First, which premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival and will play at the DC/Docs Film Festival on June 15th. Let's give a very warm welcome to Congresswoman McBride. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
We are so happy to have you. We have been having a lot of your coworkers on. And one of our favorite things to do with your coworkers is talk about some of your other coworkers. So how are things going at work, Congresswoman?
Well, I had quite a warm welcome from every single one of my colleagues. Yeah. You know, I am very lucky to be part of the Democratic caucus family here. There are a handful of professional provocateurs on the other side of the aisle who seem pretty preoccupied with me and people like me. But those are deeply unserious legislators who honestly aren't working with any Democrat and can barely work with their own Republican colleagues. So they're off sort of getting attention and making a show. I'm here to do serious work with the serious colleagues that I have in the Democratic caucus, and even, I will say, a handful of somewhat serious Republicans.
Well, I mean, are there, outside of the shows that we see on social media and the provocateurs that you say that feed there is like the subcult on the internet that is very obsessed with people like you, that spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about people like you when people like you genuinely do not affect their life, at all. But behind the scenes, do any of the Republican colleagues of these provocateurs, did they say, hey, we don't like this, we're sorry about that? Is there a sense of humanity on the right towards you in Congress?
There actually is. I don't want to let these folks off for their public behavior or for their votes, but I will tell you that the welcome that I received from some of my colleagues actually fostered an opportunity for me to develop relationships on the other side of the aisle that I might not have had a handful of my colleagues decided to make me an opportunity to get attention for themselves. So I'll have Republican colleagues come up to me on the floor just to say, I just want to come and introduce myself. We are so lucky to have you here. Welcome to Congress. Others who will say, I really don't like what they're doing. It's not very Christian. There are other colleagues who have said, let's find opportunities to work together to show people that not everyone is like this. So there are definitely moments of kindness and grace that honestly are only possible because of the moments of vitriol and attention-seeking behavior.
Yes. All right. Well, Congresswoman, before we get into super deep stuff, we like to, just skim around the petty. So tell us, what have you had it with?
I have had it with pop culture shaming. I am so over the pop culture sexism we see right now, where anything that disproportionately is beloved by women is deemed vapid and superficial, and anything that disproportionately appeals to men for their entertainment is perfectly acceptable. And so honestly, I just want to watch my Traders. I just want to watch Real Housewives. I just want to watch and listen to Taylor Swift. Like, let me enjoy my thing. I'm tired of people yucking my yum. And now that I'm in Congress and have a higher profile and people are starting to hear about some of my pop culture likes and dislikes, let me live my life.
Yeah.
So you're getting shamed for liking a little bit of trash TV.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I just think across pop culture right now, we tend to police people's likes. We yuck people's yums. And if it's something that disproportionately appeals to women, it's somehow looked down upon. And if it's something that disproportionately appeals to men, we celebrate it and we're A-okay. And I'm over that. Let people like what they like.
Don't you think on the left, there is a fine line? Like, there are certain things that we need to defend and call out online. But then there is this hyper fixation on overcorrecting. I'll give you an example. When Musk and Trump had their delicious breakup, AOC said, "Oh, the girls are fighting," which is funny. And it was, I thought, I didn't take like, oh my God, she's shaming women. I know what her record is on women. It's well established. But I saw so many posts saying that was wrong for her to equate girls with their behavior with the same as Trump and Musk. And I think sometimes that's just getting a little bit too deep into it. Because for me, the takedown of Musk and Trump is these are the people that are fixated on how hypermasculine they are. Right. These are the people that demean women. These are the people that are wound up like cheap clocks over the LGBTQ IA group that get triggered by rainbow flags. So I think that's kind of fair game. I think we got to get a little dirty. And as a woman, as a feminist, as an ally, I liked what she said, but sometimes I feel like the hyper policing of that is so off-putting. Can can Democrats just be dicks sometimes? Can we?
I also just can we have a sense of humor?
Right.
Can we not over intellectualize every single utterance by every single person? Can we just laugh at some things and recognize that things don't have to hold up to every single critique for it to be okay to say? I mean, I saw that pushback to AOC's comments. I got a little bit of it. I put out an email referencing the movie Mean Girls and got the same kind of pushback. And I'm like, y'all, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest. I do think we are not in this position right now as a party because of us, but clearly we're not in this position where we're seeing a massive regression because we weren't canceling people enough and shaming people enough and correcting people enough when they made simple mistakes. I really think that the party that honestly comes off as the party that is most sort of joyful and welcoming, with a little bite, with a bit of humor.
Agree.
Yeah.
I think that's a party that is one that other people want to join because it seems fun, it seems exciting, and it seems welcoming to people who want to do the right thing and have a good time while doing it.
And I just think we can't be super thin-skinned like these MAGA men are. I mean, titty baby thin-skinned. But Pumps has a question for you.
Okay, in the vein of predominantly like girls do this, boys do that, My number one pet peeve, and I see it at your workplace, but the example that comes through my mind is that women are more emotional than men. And I always flash back to Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court hearing where she was ridiculed and berated for days. She stood up like a champ. Brett Kavanaugh, snot, slinging, crying. Like, so what I want to know is, do you believe that people in your workplace, do you see a more emotional male sect than the women? I mean, obviously you've got the nut jobs like the Nancy Maces. I understand that. Take her out because surely she is not the norm.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Big Beautiful Breakup was a prime example of the sort of emotional irrationality of a lot of people in politics. And if a woman in politics behaved that way, particularly a Democratic woman, we wouldn't hear the end of it. We wouldn't hear the end of how irrational and emotional she is, how unstable she is. And, I think it's one of the things that I've actually observed right now is that our politics makes a lot more sense when you realize that the Democratic and Republican parties have become sort of the avatar for women or the avatar for men in our society. And that means that they're held to different standards. And it's one of the reasons why when Trump and Republicans are loud and hysterical, or frankly, even Republicans who aren't men, when they're loud and scream, they're seen as strong. But when a Democrat, even a male Democrat, yells and screams, they're called shrill and hysterical and have Trump derangement syndrome. It's why Donald Trump can insult half this country and we tolerate it because we're okay with a deadbeat dad. But when Hillary says half of Trump supporters are deplorable, it's disqualifying because a mother has to love every single one of her children equally. And so, the question that you asked really, to me, sort of illustrates, though, a larger truth in our politics that, yes, there are rules that Democrats could break that we don't break, but it also undersells a larger truth that there are two different standards for the party. And we have to figure out how to navigate those standards and how to navigate those double standards if we're going to overcome them and win back. And that means fighting hard and fighting smart in this moment. But it also means recognizing that the Republicans get away with a lot of shit that we wouldn't get away with if we were doing it.
They completely do. And I think that one of the biggest things the Democratic Party needs to do moving forward is walk, chew gum, dribble a basketball, do backflips. I mean, do like 10 things at one time because we have to play catch up. A prime example is the decades-long attack on blue states and blue cities. When most of these states and cities, if you look at the ranking of states, they pay more in. They're donor states. They're not parasitic states. They have better education, better healthcare, better human rights, more freedoms, etc. If you take from Kansas, Oklahoma, which is where we are right now, in Texas, and just go straight east, that is the Bible Belt. And that is where you see the worst of the worst. These are the bottom 10, bottom 15 states in every category at all times. You have the worst health care, worst places for women to live, the worst education, more crime, etc. I would personally, as somebody who lives in a red state, and I see what these MAGA supermajorities do, they ruin communities. Meanwhile, the politicians gaslight the public and say, we're a top 10 state. And I'm like, bitch, please. We're at bottom 3. What are you talking about? But I would like to see a huge effort by Democrats attacking these red state policies. And it seems like the Democratic messaging is just so disjointed. And I know it's very disorienting to get beaten by such a fucking moron like Donald Trump. But my God, I just feel like sometimes I'm like, hello, why aren't we doing this? And I know you're there to fight this and to pass legislation. But what do you think the Democratic Party needs to do to get real messaging that's not just about this news cycle, but that is about, 10, 20 years? Because I always see Democrats start talking policy. And the reaction to when the average American voter hears policy is,
Yeah.
Even if it's SNAPs, even if it's Medicare, even if it's Medicaid, something that personally affects them, hearing about policy is boring. People have to have some juice in there. So why not attack Republican policies?
Well, first off, I think you're absolutely right. Policies are proof points to a larger message. And we have to have a larger message that is about working people in this country and how Republicans time and time again, whether at the state level or at the federal level, are screwing over working people. And the way they do that, and I think you've talked about this before, the way they do that is by picking a marginalized community, fear-mongering and scapegoating about it. They attack them in an effort to misdirect the public's attention while they pick your pocket. Because I guarantee you, every single time they're talking about trans people or immigrants,
always,
they are picking the pocket of American workers. They're fleecing seniors by trying to privatize Social Security and Medicare. They're undermining and gutting unions in this country. They're lining the pockets of the wealthy and major corporations. And I think in this moment, we have got to pull back the curtain on what is a strategy as old as politics itself and defend the vulnerable people in this country, but also make it clear to folks who aren't part of those communities that when those communities are getting attacked, you're actually getting attacked because it's an effort to distract while they fuck you over.
Yep.
And it's an effort to not only distract, but to divide this country and to push us further and further apart, to make us more bitter and more extreme.
Let me ask you this. In pulling back the curtain, really pulling it back, it's going to expose a lot of compromised Democrats that take a lot of money from lobbyists, corporations, and special interests. And that to me is at the core of the problem and the paralysis that the Democrats have right now. Why have we lost the working class? Because we are just as beholden to these corporations and lobbyists as the Republicans are. And I think having credible messengers in the Democratic Party is super important. That's why you see Bernie and AOC go out there and they get tens of thousands of people. If Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer went out and tried to do a rally, it would be, abysmal turnout, because on our side, we know that there's a lot of bullshit the Democratic Party tells people. And to me, everybody's dancing around this issue right now. And if the Democrats are going to take money, then we say, look, it's broken. We're going to take money, but we have told our donors, you have to stand up against Trump. You have to stand for democracy. And we are partnering with all pro-democracy people to win elections. But I feel like there's a lot of dancing around it when we have other Democrats on here. And I think the Democratic Party is kind of compromised. And until we reconcile that, we're going to continue to shed these working class voters. And these working class voters, you're exactly right. They think they can't have nice things because of immigrants and people like you and gay people and lesbians and on. Because picking on marginalized groups is an authoritarian play to fleece the working class.
Yes. Yeah. Look, I think one, you're absolutely right that we have to be fighting for bold economic policy to make it abundantly clear that we're working to make the American dream affordable and accessible for everyone. I think it's as simple as everyone needs to get a wage. And the first thing we'll do, we will raise the minimum wage in this country. Everyone deserves the benefits that they need. That means that we're going to have paid family and medical leave across this country. So you don't have to break the bank to start a family or when your parent gets diagnosed with cancer and you need to care for them. We need to make it clear that we're fighting for bold economic policy, while also, I will also say on this, one of the challenges that we face, and I think and I say this as a trans person, is that they will set out a trap for us and we will run right into it, right? And I think one of the reasons why those anti-trans ads were to the degree that they were successful or not, why there was so much money put behind them because they polled well in polling and in the focus groups, is because of the last line in that ad. Kamala Harris is for they, them, Donald Trump's for you. I do think that there is a perception that we are preoccupied with the culture wars, which is ironic because it's the Republicans who are preoccupied with the culture wars.
That's all they talk about.
And I know that you all had a great conversation recently where when there were some Democrats who were trying to reinforce this notion that we were the party of pronouns, when the reality is the Republican Party is the party that is obsessed with pronouns. You push back on that.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be very clear in pushing back against the notion that we are obsessed with culture wars, that we're the ones fighting about gender. We just want everyone to be able to live their lives, right?
Well,
we want everyone to be able to live their lives.
Don't you think those are compound thoughts, that it's like in the economic message, we leave no one behind in having healthcare, in having a livable wage. That includes all Americans. We don't cherry pick some for you, not for you, some for you, not for you. That's why trans issues, minorities, immigrants are included in our messaging, because none of us are free until all of us are free. And Congresswoman, I just feel with every fiber in my body that I have to fight for your rights and your visibility every bit as much as I do everybody else's. Because if anybody gives up on you, Congresswoman, then they move the goalposts and they move the goalposts and they move the goalposts. And then all of a sudden you fall prey to it.
That's exactly right. And I think the way that you just said it, though, is the way we should be talking about it, which is that we are fighting for everyone. We are fighting for everyone. We leave no one behind. I think when we start to sort of cherry pick different groups out to highlight when we're talking about opportunity for all, unfortunately, a lot of people start hearing, they don't hear the all part and they hear just the groups that we mention. So I think we have to lean in exactly the way that you just did. And again, I think explicitly reinforce that it is the Republican Party that is thinking about trans people and obsessed with trans people.
I've never heard people talk about genitals as much as they do.
Some of these folks think about trans people more than trans people think about trans people.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean,
but we have to be willing to just be 100% frank about that. And certainly also some of these Democrats that are critiquing the party and saying that we're too focused on these issues are just reinforcing the very lie that the Republicans have been putting forward.
Right. No, I completely agree with that. We look at Moses Mike Johnson and we are just astounded because he is such a religious fanatic and the biggest hypocrite on the planet. We live in Oklahoma where we have a state superintendent that buys Trump Bibles and puts the 10 Commandments on the wall, says there's no such thing as separation of church and state. What can you do within the body that you're currently serving in to make sure that we are not going to combine church and state? Because I just look at this and I think we are now sitting around and people in office are saying, well, America was based on Christian values. And I'm just like, what? We've completely gotten away from church and state. And I'm like, Mike Johnson is the biggest offender and he's the most ineffective leader for many reasons. But I think that's one of them.
Well, I actually think that it's the sort of Christian nationalism that we're seeing from the far right is a prime example of how the right is, in some cases, making some of the same mistakes that we made on the left in sort of a post-marriage equality world where we overestimated our cultural victory and our cultural mandate and started to sort of require everyone, to the conversation we were having earlier where it was like we couldn't have any humor if it was like,
right, if
there was any potential sort of leftist critique. I actually think the Christian nationalist movement that we're seeing right now is sort of a mirror of that on the right, where they're overestimating the cultural victory and cultural mandate that they have. And the Republican, Donald Trump is this sort of pro-fun, pro-humor guild on a Republican Party that is still very much the same old Republican Party of prudes and purists.
Totally.
And and the Republican rank and file in the House are a prime example of that. Mike Johnson is a prime example of that. And I actually think there's going to be a backlash when it's not Trump's sort of humor and showboaty sort of 3 wives, million kids, whatever. When it's not that, and it's actually policies that are banning contraception, policies that are banning speech, policies that are banning books. And you're like, actually, these people aren't pro-fun. They're the same old Republican Party that was trying to ban video games in the 1990s.
Right.
Just to pull a reference out from like 30 years ago that no one remembers but me, but you know.
But isn't it wild? I mean, knowing like what the Republican Party has believed and all the family values stuff. And when George W. Bush ran, Karl Rove put that marriage thing on all the state ballots to drive out the evangelicals to get W elected. And just, you know, we believe in traditional family values and that nauseating bullshit. And then to see Trump, who just is so morally bankrupt, banging porn stars, Playboy bunnies, hanging out with Elon Musk, who's snorting ketamine with reckless abandon. And you just see this just depravity. And then you see Moses Mike Johnson trot out there as Jesus' little soldier. And it's just so breathtakingly hypocritical. Now, my mother, who is an atheist, who has lived in the Bible Belt her entire life, she has said the one good thing, and she's from Texas originally, and she says it like this: the one good thing about Trump, darling, is he has exposed all of these evangelical hypocrites for exactly who I always knew they were. And so I hope that Democrats pick up on that too. Look at these Christian hypocrites, because there are people, I think in our research on you, Congresswoman, you're an ordained Presbyterian elder.
I am, yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Another reason why these right-wingers' heads explode when I'm an ordained elder, queer trans woman. Like,
how does that happen? What's going on with the Presbyterians? Can't you hear it?
It's amazing that I just don't burst into flames perpetually.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. Pumps, one of my main goals is I just want to live up to the version of me that Tubby and Cha-Cha think that I am. I mean, I know I'm great, but the dogs think that I am like the best person on the planet. Meanwhile, you know, sometimes I forget to restock their food, and I might forget to put their flea medications on them because I've run out. Thankfully, the dogs have no idea about any of this because Chewy had both, and they delivered it to me immediately. My dogs are now well-fed, itch-free, and they still think I am the greatest human ever in the history of the world.
Chewy has great food, but they also carry a wide range of vet-recommended flea and tick medications, which I give my dogs year-round to keep them healthy and safe.
Listener, AutoShip lets you schedule recurring deliveries of the essentials you use most so you never run out. It's flexible, easy to manage, and can be changed or canceled at any time. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 off on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com/hadit. That's chewy.com/hadit to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. Chewy.com/hadit. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. Some might say Homes.com is the best home shopping site. Could it be because it has a sleek, spam-free site or the most in-depth school info? Homes.com knows every parent wants the best for their kids, so they're the only ones with school and district details and reviews from multiple sources, including niche. It may be Homes.com's super comprehensive and transparent agent directory, or maybe it's that Homes.com is the only site that always directly connects you with the listing agent who knows the home best. Perhaps it's because Homes.com has the most in-depth neighborhood content of any home shopping site that's extensively researched to highlight the personality of each neighborhood. Homes.com has 22 data visualization layers, 7 environmental layers, and allows you to search by commute and architectural factors. It's the home search you've been searching for. Go to Homes.com today for home shopping the way it should be. Homes.com, we've done your homework. All right, let's play a lightning round of our just chart topping game, Had It or Hit It, which I'm sure you're abundantly aware. But in case you're not, I'll remind you of the rules. If you like something, you'll say hit it. And that sometimes can be awkward, but just go with it. And if you don't like something, you'll say, had it. Oh my God. Welcome to Had It or Hit It. I would hit it.
Had it.
Had it. I hit it every day, sometimes twice a day. Okay. Had it or hit it, iced coffee.
Oof. Had it. I'm sorry.
No
iced coffee. I'm sorry. Iced coffee. My conspiracy theory is it does not work.
No caffeine charge.
No caffeine. Okay. No caffeine. I want my coffee to slap me across the face. I like a good hot Starbucks coffee.
Okay. Had it or hit it, Delaware haters.
Okay, had it. I mean, this is when you were getting into the like state on state hatred. It was making me a little nervous because while Delaware's a giver state, we get so much shit as Delawareans. Everywhere I go, people go, Delaware. They insult my state. We are the best state in the history of the union, and I encourage everyone to come visit our little state and see how big of a heart we have and how much fun we have, particularly in the beaches.
Okay. I've never been to Delaware.
I haven't either.
We just might have to make a big trip there, hang out with you on the beaches.
I love it. Come to Rehoboth.
Isn't that where Joe
Rehoboth
Biden always is?
The gays and the flame dames.
Okay. Had it or hit it, the big, beautiful breakup.
Oh, hit it.
Yeah.
Hit it. I've got my popcorn out. I'm watching. I'm loving it. While it could not happen to a nicer two people, I will. I will say it's been interesting watching the fluctuation. Like when Elon deleted the Epstein tweet,
hilarious.
And I'm like, you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube, my man. Like once that's out there, that's out there.
I kind of feel like a little let down though, because they were really going after each other. And I think somebody with some sense got into one or the other or both and said, you all will end up in, this is my opinion, you will end up in prison if you keep doing this to one another. Because in my mind, there is so much malfeasance and nefarious conduct between the two. And they've kind of everybody knew he was in the Epstein records, everybody except MAGA. So that wasn't like the punch that I needed. So I'm kind of bummed about how it's kind of trickled out.
Here's the thing, Pumps and Congresswoman. Here's the thing. You got somebody who is an untreated, unhinged drug addict. And anybody that has that level of addiction is he's going to be unable to control when he gets his feelings hurt. And he has the loudest megaphone and he's going to drop more. So just sit back, fasten your seatbelt. It is going to be a bumpy, delicious ride with guaranteed turbulence because they will destroy each other. It's impossible that they won't.
I mean, as someone who abhors cyberbullying, my heart goes out to both of them.
Hashtag be best.
Yeah, be best.
Hashtag be best. Okay.
What a great Trump 1 reference.
Okay. Last one. Had it or hit it, the United States of America.
Hit it.
I agree.
I mean, listen. We're going through a rough patch right now. We've been through rough patches before. And I think I will just say this because I want to end on this note because I think it's so important for all of us in this moment to remember, because I think what's challenging in this moment is that it feels like we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't feel like 10, 15, 20 years ago when it felt like if we simply worked for it, if we voted and volunteered, that change was inevitable. But one of the things I take comfort in as I sit in the House and think about all the history that's occurred within that space, the highs and the lows of our country's history, the sins and the injustices and the moments of progress, is the thing that gives me comfort is that sense of inevitability that we felt 15, 20 years ago, that with hard work, change was inevitable, that is the exception in our history. And you cannot tell me that the reasons for hopelessness now for our country are greater than the reasons for hopelessness for an enslaved person in the 1850s who had no reason to believe that an Emancipation Proclamation was on the horizon. You cannot tell me the reasons for hopelessness now are greater than the reasons for hopelessness for an unemployed worker during the early days of the Great Depression. And you certainly cannot tell me that the reasons for hopelessness now are greater than the reasons for hopelessness for a closeted gay or closeted trans person in the 1950s who never knew of an America where they could live openly and authentically as themselves without violating the law. They had every reason to give up, but they didn't. They persevered, they summoned their hope, they changed the world, and they said to the United States of America, hit it.
I'm like teared up.
Congresswoman, I want to say on a personal note to you, we live in a very anti-trans climate. I have two very dear friends of mine that are raising a 10-year-old trans daughter, and they came over for dinner the other night. And this is an opportunity for all of us in this country, with all of the hate and all of this judgment and just abject fuckery that goes on, that I think it boils down to something very simple. You can be cool or you can be a dick. It's that simple, America. And every day I want Americans that are dickish to know that having somebody that might be slightly different than you and somebody whose life might not be perfectly down the fairway is actually an attribute to your personal life. It actually enhances your personal life. It adds depth, color, and joy to your life. And so your visibility and your election as the first trans congresswoman is something that makes me so proud. And I want to say to you and to all of the American haters, just be cool. Why do you want to be a dick to people? Just be cool. All she's doing is her job. That's it. And people that get so triggered about flags and pronouns and bathrooms, that is a them problem, to use a pronoun. That is a they, them problem. And you are not the problem, Congresswoman. You are the solution. You are the solution. And I'm just so proud to live in a country where you were elected. And there's no question that Delaware has to be one of the best states in the union by having elected you, because you have handled just horrific hate and just a whole cesspool of fiery hell online with more grace and humility and class than I've ever seen, because I'm not capable of that. I mean, I would fight back and I'd get so scrappy, it'd be ugly, but not you. I mean, you just rise above and you're an inspiration far beyond your just who you are and your presence and the way you conduct yourself. It's just #goals for all of us.
Wow. That's really kind. I mean, I am here to do the serious work of governing. I'm here to represent 1 million Delawareans to the best of my ability. I think it is a testament to your point about Delawareans. It's a testament to Delawareans that they were fair-minded and were judging candidates based on their ideas. I will just say that I've got really incredible colleagues who have my back. I've got incredible constituents who have my back. I have so many people like you two who not only have my back, but have the backs of so many people across this country right now. I know, one of the challenges when you are a first is, as the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers says in the movie 42, if you respond to a slur with a slur, they'll only hear yours. And if you respond to a punch with a punch, they'll say you're the aggressor. Yeah. And my hope, and one of the reasons why I did the documentary, was my hope is that people can see a story that's not a simple story about my experience, because it's through the nuance and the complexities and the challenges that we learn lessons that other people see that those of us who do this aren't doing it because we're fearless. And hopefully folks can take that more complex story, learn from it, so that not only I'm not the last, but that the people who come behind me can do it better. And yes, when it's a second or third or fourth or fifth, they can also do this job differently than I'm doing it.
Congresswoman, I just think you're so cool.
I think you're amazing.
I just do. I think you're so cool, and you've been one of my favorite guests, and I'm so happy you came on. And anytime you want to come on, you're always welcome. And I just enjoyed our time with you so very much.
Thank you. I would love to come back. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Great. All right. We'll see you soon. Good luck at work.
Thank you. I need it.
Okay. I mean, I just think she is incredible. Are you crying?
I mean, I'm just so moved.
Yeah.
I mean, that her story, and like she's the one saying, after all she's been through, like, we have hope. You know, I guess I just needed to hear somebody say, like, it could be worse. It's been worse. But so much class. She's been through so much. I mean, just, I'm very moved. I'm not sad. I'm just she's very moving.
This is why it's so important, the fight for human rights.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important that nobody goes along with even a fringe of systemic homophobia or transphobia, because it squashes beautiful voices like hers and prevents her from living a normal life just so people can be angry dicks. That's the sole purpose of it. Is, you know, she has no agenda other than to get up in the morning, eat whatever it is she's going to eat for breakfast, go to work with, you know, half of them up there nut coworkers.
Nuts.
And it's just so important that we never compromise and we never bend on that issue, because you give these people an inch and they keep going and going and going and going. And I hope if there's one thing that we impress upon our listener, it is that the fight for human rights and for equality, you have to have ironclad conviction. You can leave no one behind just because it's personally easier for you in that one segment of your life, because it just allows a lot of pain when that happens. And it allows a lot of systemic bigotry to live and get more deeply embedded into the culture. And so, you know, I mean, our podcast is silly, but a lot of times it's serious. And we are very, very, very serious about this fight for equality for every fucking buddy. And MAGA is not for that.
No, they're for white men, rich white men preferably. Full stop.
All right, listen. Okay. Pumps is over there. She's Boodle Baby. God love her. She's so sweet. Okay. Look, we have a book. It's called Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. It's a great little weekend summer read. Our goal is get you one and take it on your summer trip, and then take a picture, a selfie of you on vacation with your book. We will reshare it. You can buy this, link in bio, and also at local bookstores. And Pumps, tell them, don't botch saying Thursday.
You've got it in my head so bad.
Come on.
We will see you next Tuesday and Thursday. Was that not good?
It was excellent. You nailed it.
I'll tell you what I've had it with. Let's hear it. I've had it with that.
Listen up, patriots, gaytriots, and natriots. We have a new podcast that has dropped. It's called iHip News. It's Monday through Friday, every day, 15 to 20-minute hot takes on the political landscape of the United States of America, always served with a side of petty grievances.
We are on all the available platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever you get your podcasts, and YouTube.
Please go rate, subscribe, and review so that we will chart upwards with America's greatest legal mind. Pumps, what does an eagle say?
Caw-caw.
A little bit more enthusiasm.
Caw-caw.
That's it. That's
Caw-caw.
That's the patriotism that this country needs right there.